So today I am doing a little bit of a different video. This is all about a teleprompter. The teleprompter is the GVM teleprompter for tablets, and it's made for tablets that are up to 12.9 inches, basically an iPad. It costs $399, but I wanted to modify it to see if I could make this teleprompter work a little bit better for my situation. You see, I like mounting teleprompters to light stands, especially here in the studio, because it means in this case that I can wheel that light stand around, I can move it wherever I need it to go, and if I need to raise the camera up, I simply just raise the light stand up. So this teleprompter in particular, costing only $399, was very enticing to me because I found out a few more things that might make it even more useful than it was initially intended for. You see, while this was made for an iPad up to 12.9 inches, and I'll show you here, it's got this mount that was made for clipping a iPad into it. I'm going to see if I can modify this to work with a much bigger screen, in fact a 17.3 inch screen, and then also find a way to modify this rail system, which was originally made to mount the camera on the back and have this as like a counterbalance and have this sit directly on the tripod so that I can always keep my cameras separate. This allows me to kind of flex the teleprompter and move it to any other camera, any other position that I want to. So today's video is a bit of a longer one, but it's going to be walking through how I'm modifying this and what my thought process was. So first, this is the GVM teleprompter for tablets. It's $399. It comes with 70/30 beam splitter glass. That's typically a standard as far as teleprompter glass goes. It supports lenses between 80 to 150 millimeters in diameter, so that's when it's fitting through the lens hood. That's this guy right over here, so basically this is going to fit over top of the glass, and then the lens will fit through this back portion. A lot of pieces to it. I haven't put it together yet. And a couple quick notes. The rod system that holds it is 15 millimeters. The glass measures roughly 18 by 18 inches, and this is where it gets kind of interesting because I thought, well, a 12.9 inch iPad, you're going to have a lot of dead space around the reflection of the iPad in the glass. So I thought, what if we could go bigger than that? So I found the Arzopa, A-R-Z-O-P-A, and I'll link to this down below in the description, 17.3 inch monitor. You may have seen these sort of portable monitors in my other videos. It looks just like this. And it is really paper thin. I mean, very, very thin. But it's a 17-inch monitor that takes mini HDMI or USB-C. So depending on if you're connecting a laptop directly, like a MacBook Pro, or if you want to send a teleprompter feed, or maybe even use this as like a Zoom, being able to see, you know, a Zoom caller or somebody on the other end, this would make for a good option using that HDMI to mini HDMI cable, which both of those are supplied with this. So my thinking was, let's see if we could modify this screen to be able to mount it onto this system so that we don't need to use an iPad, and then we can basically use this on a light stand and wheel this all around the studio. So here's what I'm thinking. So first of all, on this piece right here, there's kind of like these clips on the front side of it, and it was made so that you can loosen up the back, pull these clips out, pop the iPad in, and then lock it down. What I'm deciding to do is actually to take off, I'll show you the back here, I'm going to unscrew this, and I'll be taking these clips off entirely, which just gives me a flat platform. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. I'm going to slide in my little cart here so I can have a little surface to do this on. And these screws come right out. Takes like just a couple turns of the knob, and we can get rid of all of these entirely. And the reason why I'm doing this is because, yes, I could go buy a more expensive teleprompter from, say, iCan. Theirs are ranging somewhere in the like $1,800 to $1,900 range, and that's for one that comes with a monitor, a huge carrying case. They're big, they're bulky, they're heavy. And yes, I could do that, right? I could drop $1,800, but this was $400, and then the monitor was somewhere in the range of about $250. So at $650, I'm spending almost a third the cost and $3 for some Velcro and a couple other mounting parts that I already had with me. So let me keep going on this. Just get these little guys off here. And, you know, I'm sure some people will watch this and say, well, Zeph, you know, why don't you just buy the right thing for the job, right? Like someone would think, oh, you know, just buy the right tool for the job. And I agree with you. I think there's a time and a place for that. And certainly this might actually be the right tool for the job, but I'm kind of asking a lot of it. And I've had some poor experiences with other teleprompters where the screws that hold the glass at that sort of 45-degree angle have worn out over time. And the last thing I want to do is to buy a product that is going to wear out like that. So the really cool thing about this and how the glass attaches to it, let me actually show you this here, is that on the rail system, this sort of mounting part, there's 2 screws here. So let me get the glass. And the way the glass fits on this is it actually just kind of sits right onto this mounting piece, like so. And then you have 2 screws that screw it in place, so it always holds it at the angle that you need. So I'll show it to you that way so you can see it a little better. There's 2 screws that mount it onto these rails. Now, the one thing that I noticed when I decided to do this sort of modification was that there's 2 sets of rails. There's a front set that are holding this sort of iPad containment system, and there's a rear set that were made for putting the camera on. Now, as I mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of putting the camera and the iPad on here, or the monitor. So really what my goal is to modify this in a non-permanent fashion so that we could use this on a light stand. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. So the tool that we need is a little Allen wrench, and what I'm going to do is loosen up. There's a screw on this side right there and a screw on this side, and that's what's holding this back set of rails into this sort of base station. I don't really know what to call it. Also, it's worth mentioning that this does have mounts on the bottom, and this is how we're going to get it mounted to the light stand. So let me go ahead and unscrew these and get the rails out first, because we're not going to need these anymore. And it really was that easy to take the first one out. I'm just going to tighten this back down. I'm simply just unlocking and removing the rail system, which we won't need, and I could always potentially add back in later if I decided that I wanted it. Simply just loosen these up again and pop those back in. You can also buy 15mm rods online, so it's not that hard to find a piece like that if you stowed these away somewhere and lost them or something like that. So I've modified my system, and really all I need to do left is figure out A, how I'm going to get this mounted to a light stand, which I've already figured that out for you, and then B, getting this monitor mounted onto what was the iPad plate. So let me put this wrench back and I'll show you how we'll get this mounted to the light stand. So I absolutely love this light stand. It's from Impact and it's on wheels. You can't see it, but it's got wheels. And I just have a sandbag down there for safe measure. And what I'm thinking is we need to get this mount down here somehow on top of this baby pin head of the C-stand. So what I'm going to do is I've got 2 pieces. One is just a regular grip head that would go on any other C-stand. You can find these on Amazon, and I'll make sure to link to this one below. This one is from Impact as well. This is the KCP 200. It's a 2.5-inch grip head. So we will lock this down nice and tight. And then a baby pin. This one happens to have the 1/4-20 mount on the bottom of it, so we can get this screwed right into our platform here. So I'm going to use the bigger side because it's kind of a heavier item. I want to make sure that this stays steady. So we've got that screwed in right there. And now it's time to get this mounted into the grip. We will loosen up this grip. Probably going to need the biggest section here to get this locked in place. And we'll get this locked down. Okay, we are locked and loaded. Now, as you can see here, it's a little bit off kilter, so I may at some point need to just take this out and adjust it. Okay, so that looks pretty nice and level now. It's pretty darn close. Obviously, once the camera goes through that back hood on this, then it's not really going to be as crucial. Really, I just want to make sure that this is locked down enough that it's going to hold this monitor on it as well as the glass. So the monitor would basically sit right here, and then we'll get our glass on here. So I'm putting a good amount of pressure on this. It's not going anywhere at all. It might turn left or right based on it being locked down onto that pin, but that's something I can always tighten up later. So let me get the glass on this and I'll turn it sideways so you can see how I do that. So our glass just slides right on, and we're gonna lock it down with these two locking screws. And again, this is something that I'm expecting to be kind of a permanent installation in the studio. Being a teleprompter this big, I'm really not trying to take this out on the road. I have a smaller one that I've built in the past that you can see in another video. But this is something that would stay just as a permanent fixture in the studio. All right, once we've got that glass on nice and tight, you can see it's looking pretty good. You can start to see here why, putting this on a light stand kind of has some benefits, might have some disadvantages, but if you're in a stationary environment, this is not going anywhere. You could put another light stand on it or just lock the wheels on this light stand so that it doesn't go anywhere. So let's go ahead and get this protective plastic off, and we'll put the hood over top. I think it attaches magnetically, so should only take us like 2 seconds to put that on. All right, the best part, you ready? ASMR style. Oh yeah. I don't know how good that actually sound on mic, but I thought it would be funny. All right, last piece, our hood. This comes with it's kind of like zippered on the sides so that if you were to take this on the road, you could kind of fold this down flat. But since this is just staying as like a permanent installation in the studio, we'll keep this zippered open, and that's what kind of gives it its rigid shape. So you can see here, once I zipper this, so that's what keeps it in that sort of rigid triangular shape. And then we've got some magnets that are built into the edges back here, and that's how it's going to sit right over top of the glass. Ta-da! So there you have it. That's kind of how the GVM teleprompter works, but modifying it, there's really only one last step for us, and that's to take this beautiful 17.3-inch monitor, which I will also take the protective cover off of. There's some plastic here that we'll take off. I might actually just leave this on for protection until I actually get this in and installed, but you can see here there's the HDMI and USB ports on the back, and then because of how flat this is, all I need to do is basically get some Velcro sticky tape and set it right in here, and we've got our teleprompter ready to go. So we've modified a $3.99 teleprompter plus another about $250 for a nice 17-inch screen. But now, as you can see, because it takes the full width of the entire teleprompter, it allows us to kind of take advantage of all of that additional space. And then we'll just use our teleprompter software on the computer that I like to use. And I'll link to that down below as well. I'll link to all of these additional parts that I used. Everything's going to be below in the description. But I'll just take some Velcro sticky tape. I'll probably turn this on and put some sample text on it so I can see like where it's being reflected. I'll test it while this is kind of around the camera, so it's a little bit easier for me to see what's actually going on. And that way I can just make sure I position this properly. But there's a nice little kind of lip on the back. You see that? So this part of it actually stands out a little bit thicker than the rest of this. So I'll probably put the Velcro somewhere like here in the center, and then this lip can sit right on the edge of the platform that was originally made for the iPad. Now, if I find that that's kind of not in the best position, I might just flip this around because there's a good amount of space behind this platform as well. And that will get me much closer to the glass. So again, that's just an angle thing. We'll test that out once we have a computer plugged up to it and we can see. And just want to show you here some measurements real quick. So again, this is almost 19 inches all the way across, and almost 18 inches tall. So we're basically gaining a 19-inch teleprompter for a third the cost of what we might spend if we're buying an all-in-one kit from another company. And especially, again, if you're in a studio space like me, if you want this to be kind of a static thing that you can just wheel into the corner and pull out as needed, then this is something that I highly recommend for you. The quality of this in general, this is a very similar nylon type fabric that you're going to get on a lot of other teleprompter hoods. But I will say the glass and the metal frame of it is rock solid. I have no doubts that the metal framework is going to outlast the glass and like accidentally breaking it or something, or outlast the monitor that we're putting in here. So I'm really excited to kind of share this modification with you. Again, I will list all the parts down below. And if you're looking for a teleprompter software that I like, that also allows you to flip the screen so you don't have to worry about changing it in the monitor, then we'll also link to that below. Thanks so much for watching this video, and if you like cool DIY hacky type stuff just like this, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you in our next video.